In July of 2008, the state-owned pipeline company tried to evict the SINAI residents, saying it was illegal and very dangerous to live right above a high-pressure pipeline. However, the people of SINAI refused to move, citing that the government did not provide them with alternative settlements.
It was almost a disaster in waiting. There's no way you could have human settlement, underneath pipelines. And everyone have known this for years. Okay?
The SINAI residents were supported by civil society groups and even members of parliament, sitting and previous.
Hakuna mtu ambaye wa kusema ati nyinyi tokeni, wanaenda wapi? Hii Nairobi ni yao pia. Kwa hivyo bwana Vice President, tafadhali ngoja kidogo. Hii maneno ni very serious, mimi naongea. Hata kesho nyinyi mtahama.
The government still did not back Kenya Pipeline's eviction plan.
Well, first and foremost, those people should not be living there. But this argument of haki yetu and politicians standing up and thumping their chest and making all the noises is uncalled for. It's uncalled for. Why are they not the ones sitting and living in those areas?
Makadara Member of Parliament Gideon Buvi, aka Sonko, was at the scene of the fire and helped rescue some of the victims. The colourful Member of Parliament and 3 MPs then stormed the Kenya Pipeline headquarters, demanding an explanation on the fire tragedy that left a trail of destruction in the SINAI slum. The group even roughed up security officers at the entrance before forcing its way to the lift. However, they were unable to speak to the company management, who they were demanding full compensation from, for the victims and their families.
Unapata barabara ikitaka kupita mahali kama Mombasa Road kwa sababu kuna investors huko wanawachwa, hakuna notice, hakuna kitu inapigwa. But the problem, when dealing with the poor, serikali inatumia force.
On September 20th, the government then announced plans to hold a mass burial for the victims. Those plans received sharp criticism, with many terming the plans as tragic, inhumane and insulting. Sonko then moved to court, seeking to stop the Ministry of Public Health from removing, disposing or burying in mass graves any of the victims, pending the hearing and determination of the suit. The government then released 5,000 shillings to those whose houses were burnt to look for an alternative place, while families of those who lost their loved ones were paid 60,000 shillings to cater for funeral expenses. However, many of the victims here claim they did not receive any compensation money.
Sasa hata tusikikangi wale. Hatusikikangi. Ni kama story yetu ilikanyagiwa hata sijui.
Tunakaa huku na wasiwasi, tunasikia tutabomolewa. Unaona? Tunasikia tutabomolewa. Ndio sisi huku tumeungua, hata tunakaa tu na wasiwasi. Hata tujui gava itatuamuliaje after hapo.
So the big looming question is, why did the government fail the SINAI victims?
An example, you can compare 2 things. If you look at the Sechengwan Mall of Fire 2 years ago, in less than 6 months, anyone affected by that fire was paid, and was paid through the bank of Kenya Commercial Bank. Because the task force set by His Excellency the President were professionals. They were outside. The government was part of it, but the chair was Mr. Naushad Merali. We had people like Martin Odwor, we had others, and it was serious.
Days have now turned into weeks and weeks into months. The SINAI fire has quickly faded from many Kenyan minds, despite the fact that 4 patients still remain in the plastic and reconstructive surgery ward unit of Kenyatta Hospital. Joseph Mwangeri had just left his workplace and had returned home to be welcomed by a spectacle of a large crowd of fuel siphoners near the river.
Nilikuwa nimetoka kazini, nafanya kibarua kwa chloride excite. Wakati nilifika kwa nyumba, nikasikia duru. Nilikuta ni moto. Inachoma. Bali nilikuwa nimekanyanga, sikuwa najua kama kuna mafuta. Watu walikuwa wanachota mafuta wakiendanga kuficha. Ukanyanga mafuta. Sikuwa najua ile mafuta. Nilikuwa na gambut. Anaumi kama hii yako. na pesa kwa mfuko 6,500 zote zilichomeka. Nitoke huko niwache familia yangu ipo. Bibi yangu nilimwacha akiwa na mimba. Amezaa juzi. Hata mimi sijaona huyo mtoto wangu. Sasa ile kitu ningeomba madaktari wanitengeneze niende nyumbani.
The doctors and nurses here give a recount of that overwhelming day.
Many of them had very, very extensive burns, very high percentage, and most of them had inhaled hot smoke. So they also had what we call inhalational injury. And therefore quite a big number of them succumbed. We had over 40 patients succumb, though they were admitted.
Many of the burn victims you've seen continue to suffer post-traumatic stress disorder and will require supportive counseling and medication to cope for a long time to come. The obstacles that many patients face is resuming day-to-day activities after injury and also returning to work. The trauma for the fire victim survivor is a complex one. The injurious event is traumatic, but there is also trauma stemming from treatment that can be excruciatingly painful, compared by many to torture. The reactions of others to their changed bodies presents these survivors with the additional trauma of feeling rejected, isolated, unworthy, and humiliated. A tough road to walk for these victims.
May